Thank you. For the debate, the member for Kitchener Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I will be sharing my time with the member from Richmond Hill. And I'm pleased to speak in the House today on Bill 11, an act to raise awareness about radon, provide for the Ontario Radon Registry, and reduce radon levels in homes and workplaces. This private member's bill is being presented by my colleague for Etobicoke North, who is no doubt very concerned about this. It's of special importance to him as he is a family doctor. And with him, I would like to express my concerns in ensuring the people of Ontario remain safe from exposure to this potentially deadly element. And we should mention that this bill was initiated by the current Minister of Research and Innovation, with whom I have the pleasure of working with as his new PA. Well, Bill 11, if passed, will certainly increase the level of safety in homes and businesses, not just for us, but for generations to come. As you've heard my members stating already quite eloquently, that radon is an inert gas that's formed by the radioactive decay of uranium-238, which you'll find in rocks and soils in the Earth's crust. And Health Canada tells us that when this escapes from the bedrock into the outdoor air, it's so diluted that it poses a very negligible threat to health. But when radon gas is released into a building constructed over bedrock or soil, it can seep into those structures and accumulate to high levels in enclosed or poorly ventilated spaces. Radon is invisible, you can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, but it is a silent killer. Studies carried out in Canada and across the globe have shown us that exposure to high levels of radon has been associated with an increased risk of lung cancer. Now, many of my colleagues, they're aware of the fact that most of the predominant locations of exposure to high levels of radon is in underground mines. And it is shocking for us to learn that there are studies revealing that some residential homes to be in the same level of exposure of radon as mines. As you've heard my esteemed members say, that the current estimate suggests that radon in homes is responsible for approximately 15% of all lung cancer deaths in Canada, making radon the second leading cause of lung cancer after tobacco smoking. Now, underground miners are at greater risk of exposure to uranium rock, which emit radon gases. Studies of uranium miners have consistently shown that these workers are at increased risk of lung cancer. Mr. Speaker, Canada is the world's largest producer and exporter of uranium, yet the efforts and preventions in place to protect these employees at these mines do not reflect the enormous number. As miners dig the uranium-bearing ore, they release large quantities of radioactive radon gas into the mine atmosphere. These gases stay within the mines, which are then breathed into the miners' lungs, where they lodge, delivering a massive dose of radiation to the sensitive lung tissue. What we are seeing is an extraordinarily high incident rate of lung cancer among these workers. There have been more than 220 documented deaths and up to 400 estimated lung cancer deaths at Elliott Lake Uranium Mine. This is an enormous human cost. Now, you've heard the member for Etobicoke North give us some very disturbing stats. Approximately 20,000 people die each year in Canada from lung cancer, and from that figure, it's estimated that 2,000 of those occur as a direct result of radon gas exposure. And out of those 2,000 deaths caused by radon, 40% of those deaths are taking place in Ontario. That's 800 deaths per year in our province tied to radon. It may be of interest to my honourable colleagues to note that legislation such as the one being proposed by the member for Etobicoke North have been in place in other jurisdictions and countries such as the United Kingdom. Legislation there has led to the creation of a comprehensive radon map for England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. This map allows homeowners and employees to live and work in safety by ensuring proper testing. Prevention devices are also in place so radon exposure is reduced. Bill 11 would seek to do the same in Ontario, test for radon and create a registry with maps. And these maps will make it easier for control and prevention by our government. We have taken many steps to reduce lung cancer and have seen legislation from different levels of government to reduce our exposure to carcinogenic agents. Think back to the 80s and 90s, how we moved to reduce and eventually eliminate smoking in the workplace. I can remember how back in January of 2009, my community of Waterloo Region, we became one of the first jurisdictions in Ontario and all of Canada that banned smoking in almost all indoor public places, so restaurants, bars, pubs, bowling alleys, and shopping areas. This was considered very controversial at the time. Many of these establishments thought that they would lose business. But our health and safety authorities, they stuck to their plan, and soon many of these establishments actually said, after the bylaw was passed, that business went up. Soon we saw many other communities across Ontario following suit, using the Waterloo Region model as a foundation for their own smoking ban bylaw. Mr. Speaker, by ensuring the passage of Bill 11, an act to raise awareness of radon, provide for the Ontario Radon Registry, and reduce radon levels in dwellings and workplaces, we can continue on a path to a healthier Ontario. So I commend my colleague for Etobicoke North and for Richmond Hill, and offer my support on behalf of the good people of Kitchener Centre in promoting this very important bill. Thank you.